What's up? So I'm going to debate. Stephen A. Smith had his top five greatest NBA rivals and duos, and he mentioned Dr. J and Larry Bird, which was five. Can't argue that. Now the interesting thing is that Bird came in the NBA in his peaks. He was at a young fresher. Wonder would have been like a Dr. J's ABA. How that would have fared with that would have been an interesting small forward battle. I mean, you thought that was great in the early '80s for us who got to see it because they split 2-2 in finals, etc. But Bird had more going. Obviously he was the better player, was scoring and everything he did. But it would have been interesting if Dr. J ABA era had gone against Bird. That would have been an interesting what would have been, what could have been. That would have been real interesting. Really would have been a compelling story. But that is top five. Next, you had LeBron and Steph Curry, which is true because Steph got in the way of LeBron looking like Tom Brady and making a claim towards anybody you want to mention: Jordan, Bill Russell, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, anybody you want to put as far as the go or however you go by your estimates of rings and dominance. Steph got in the way, changed the course of the game. Got LeBron shooting logo threes. Kevin Durant factor in, coming to Golden State, teaming up because LeBron started it, going with D Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami and Ray Allen, and then going to Kyrie and Kevin Love in Cleveland, then going back to LA with Anthony Davis and Rondo and Dwight Howard, etc. So their rivalry is interesting. There was some tension there, and they've gotten they're both born in the same place, ironically, in the same city, but it's interesting how yeah, you think about that because they were battling each other every year for a minute. So that was a rivalry for real. Not as quite as the same because it's two different positions, but Ron definitely took it personal when Steph would take him out in the hole. He was definitely, I remember there was one time they were doing a one-on-one. It was game two in 2018, and Braun tried to block that shot, and Steph hit that cold left on him on a one-on-one. LeBron was furious because he was really going at him. So things changed a little bit as it got older, but you could still tell there was a competitiveness there, believe it or not. I think next on his list he had Wilt and Bill Russell, which to me would be number two, which Tim Legler and Tim Legler correct him on, which I agree. I mean, there's no way that this ain't number two because one man was like the greatest stat machine and individualized player you can almost imagine Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, he's like his own statue. And the other guy won everything. It's 11-2 in rings and everything, but their dominance impact becomes a standard. So Russell and Chamberlain are almost like their own symphony. That has to be the number two to me. But he had them number three. I can't even talk about basketball without talking about those guys' impact because it's felt as much as anything. There's only one rival that I'd have over them, but it's close though. But they should have been number two. He had number three. Number two, he had Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. Now that should be number three for me, and I'll tell you, I just switch it. But it is a rival because Isaiah beat everybody. Isaiah can tell you that. And for my money, and I don't care what nobody say, Michael Jordan wanted to be more like Isaiah Thomas than Magic and Bird because Isaiah, style-wise, Chuck Daly's style-wise, influence the Pistons' style and influence what Tex Winter and Phil Jackson them did with the Bulls. You have the three-headed centers and the power forwards but then you start to almost go where your guards and your shooting guards rotate. And then you had Vinny Microwave Johnson and you have Mark Aguirre and Adrian Dantley. You had guys who circle this stew. So they had ways of doing things which was not the traditionals, unorthodox, but it worked for their style. And they defended and they guarded and they did what they did. But Jordan had to go through them. And it was a real fight because they fought it out. Isaiah, I'm still reminded of that 80 game on one leg, scored all those points, and almost beat the Lakers. And then some people still think they did because it was a bad foul, call it was called. Went 7 games. Detroit went to 3 straight finals, won 2 out of 3, and they were that team. That bottom, that Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, if that steal by Bird don't come out, they may have gone to 4 straight finals. I mean, Detroit was something else. Precursor to what you saw with the Pistons in the '00s. But this Pistons team in the '80s was even better. Oh, yeah, they were better. My all due respect to Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, but that Pistons Bad Boys was better and one of the most underrated teams. And Jordan had to go through that. And when you notice when the Bulls got on their dynasty run, what did they do? They got James Booty Edwards, got John Salley, and of course, Dennis Rodman for the last three. You game, acknowledging game. That's what I say. Number one, they had Bird and Magic. That's what Stephen A. And you can't argue with that because from the time it was on college, Indiana State, Michigan State, to the pros, they dominated the 80s. It was one or the other. They were syncopated. They were like Bird and Magic for sports were like Michael Jackson and Prince for music. I mean, you had people debating. And it was one of them things that who did you think was better? Who did you? And they both like to me neck and neck. There's some days I like one more than the other. There's different ways that they hit me. But it was a great rivalry. It wasn't black and white. It was rich and poor in mindset and style and technique. So I thought that was pretty interesting, his top 5 NBA rivals. But what you think? And what are your top 5 NBA rivals? What do you think that never gets mentioned? Because it's bound to have been maybe something that people didn't. And as Legler said, he said with Isaiah Thomas, Isaiah was so polarizing. You could have said Magic versus Isaiah because they went to finals. Bird versus Isaiah because that was tension, as you know. There was always something with that. So anyway, please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear. Watch out for another share if you like my piece.